You're listening to a CNA podcast.
Hi, it's Tiffany and Gerald on the Work It podcast. Now, we have been talking about retrenchments and unemployment in recent episodes and how people have been handling these things when it happened to them.
Yeah, especially at a time like this where everything's quite volatile. Jobs is always on people's mind. Job security, right? That day I just had this conversation with a lady and she's working for a small firm. She's really worried about being retrenched and that she wonders whether her company pay her anything at all. I think there is also that concern of what might happen if today somebody's let go and whether the company will provide them a retrenchment benefit.
Because it's not legally required here in Singapore, but highly encouraged by the Ministry of Manpower. And I think it's something that your union will push for if you belong to a unionized organization. Gerald, did you maybe mention to her about the recently launched Jobseeker Support Scheme? Because I thought it was quite comprehensive.
Yep. So I did share with her this Jobseeker Support Scheme. I told her that there's a 6-month support, total of about 6,000, up to 6,000, right? And that actually, after I walked through with her, I realized that there were quite a lot of details, a lot of requirements, maybe not so straightforward. And I also, judging by some of the online comments I've read, right, I think people welcome the scheme. It's just that they want to make sure that they don't miss out.
Yeah.
So I'm really glad that we get this chance to talk a little bit more about this scheme today.
Yeah, I mean, it's very, very timely. And I think we want to hear straight from the people who are working with the job seekers themselves. So today we have with us someone from the Workforce Singapore. She is Miss Lynn Ng, Assistant Chief Executive. Also, Gerald, your former boss.
Yes.
Welcome, Lynn, to our podcast.
Hi, Tiffany, Gerald. Thank you for having me today.
Welcome.
Yeah, so before we get into details, tell us, Gerald mentioned that magical numbers. So 6 months with a financial support of up to $6,000. How did you guys come up with this?
This SkillsFuture Jobseeker Support Scheme is aimed at providing temporary financial relief to individuals who were made involuntarily unemployed. So suddenly they found that their employment had been terminated and they have to find a new job. Some people may encounter financial difficulties and government therefore tries to implement the scheme to introduce some kind of financial support. So the quantum of support is up to $6,000. It starts with $1,500 for the first month, and it goes down to $1,250 in the second month, $1,000 in the third month, and then the fourth and fifth and sixth month will be at $750.
It's tiered, basically.
It's tiered.
Okay.
That's right. And it is not meant to replace their last income, so obviously it is not pegged to a very generous sum of money, but it should make some difference to people who need a little bit of cash flow support during this period.
Okay. Is there a reason why the quantum is a lot higher in the first month and then it slowly falls?
We could have given them a flat amount for the entire 6 months, but we believe that giving them more support in the first month will show that we are very sympathetic and empathetic of the situation. Yeah, and if they need 3 or 4 months to get to the job search, then they will be able to receive more support over that period of time. So in our experience, the 6-month period will allow most people to find the jobs and re-enter the workforce. So 60% of the people generally find the jobs within the 6 months. Some people may take a little bit longer, especially if they're looking for higher paying jobs. They may take a little bit longer. And if they do need some kind of financial support beyond the 6 months, they can also tap on other government financial support schemes that are available. In fact, if they are undergoing skills retraining programs such as the SkillsFuture Level Up program, they can also receive training allowance while they get the Jobseeker Support Scheme as well.
Oh, so they can be tapping into 2 different schemes. It's not that you can only take money from one scheme and then you have to wait until you're done with this pot before you move to the next pot.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right.
Okay.
They can receive a training allowance when they go through a long-haul training program to reskill themselves for the next job. And they can also get this Jobseeker Support Scheme as well.
I think when you look at it that way, then it makes a lot of sense, right? The support, depending on whatever career need or career stage that you're at, you're looking for retraining, whether the training's a bit longer, you can have 2 pots of money to leverage on. But if you're really just gunning for straight job search, then this is the job seeker support program is like there to support you to ease off the mental load of not having an income. Especially, I think in the first few months, it's very scary.
I think so, yeah.
So that's why I think having that higher quantum upfront, it does help a little bit more. And of course, it's also, I guess, it reduces dependency towards the later stage. As the money goes down, tapers off a little bit, you also kind of know that, okay, you have to put in even more effort. You have to be more proactive. But of course, some people would say it causes stress, right? It causes stress. It just makes them feel more anxious later on because they're running out. Oh, the money's running out. Then what do I do?
So if, let's say, I am given a retrenchment payout, do I still qualify for the Job Seeker Support Scheme? Is it?
Absolutely. The Job Seeker Support Scheme does not replace the retrenchment benefits at all.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you should get the retrenchment benefits if you qualify for it.
Yeah.
The scheme is open to all Singapore citizens aged 21 and above, but the average gross monthly income has to be below $5,000 because $5,000 refers to the median income of Singaporeans. So the support will enable the lower and middle income Singaporeans to be able to tap on it. There is a criteria on annual value of the residence, which is set at 31,000, which means that everyone living in HDB properties will be able to apply for it. And even some who are living in the lower end of the smaller condominiums and private properties can also qualify for it.
Okay.
Yes.
So the aim is to try and allow more people to apply for the scheme. And I think one thing that Gerald was talking about earlier on, you have to show proof that you have been employed for at least 6 months in the last 12 years to qualify for this scheme.
Yes.
Does that mean that immediately after I get retrenched, I must put my name in the hat? Because I think when we were talking to people on this podcast, a lot of people say that it actually takes sometimes even a few months to get over the psychological setback of being retrenched. So by the time they actually pick themselves up, it could be actually realistically month 4.
So as long as you have not been unemployed for more than 6 months, you can come in. The reason why we do want to make sure that people don't come into this scheme too late is because the earlier you start on your job search, the higher the chances of you getting back into the workforce because employers will have some questions about your employment gap.
True.
Yeah. So we do want to encourage people to start their job search a bit earlier. But it's fine if you need to take a break to digest it, or it's fine if you want to take the opportunity to handle some other personal matters and so on. But we think that giving the break of up to 6 months should suffice for most people. And for most people, we do encourage that they don't procrastinate on their job search for too long.
I think some people just recently heard about this scheme. They're also wondering, okay, unfortunately, I have been trying to find a job for the last 6 months and I am not employed. So I've already passed that eligibility criteria of being employed 6 months in the last 12 months.
Right.
Are there no options for me to maybe appeal to WSG and say, can I still be considered for the scheme?
Yeah, so we understand that. So we introduce a concession for those who have been unemployed for more than 6 months.
This is a one-off concession?
That's right. This is a one-off concession. So for people who have been unemployed for about a year, almost a year ago, you can still apply for this scheme, provided you put in your application by 15th of June, because we started the scheme on the 15th of April. So there is a 2-month grace period. So we hope individuals don't miss this grace period. But for whatever reason, should you miss this grace period, you can always let us know. And we can do a case-by-case assessment. And we will do our very best to help these people. Yeah.
One of the things that I often face when I share about this scheme with some people, like I shared with one of our podcast guests.
Oh, yeah.
And then he was wondering about it. He said, I don't qualify because the salary, beyond that $5,000 mark. I know of some other people who said, you know what, I feel like I've been involuntarily let go, but it was not official, right? They were like maybe asked to quit. They were told the news and then they were given the option to resign on their own because they said that the company's not doing well. Do you want to resign? And then they did that. They don't have that official retrenchment letter per se. So for these groups of people, would there be a possibility that the policy could include such cases in future or even now?
Or case-by-case
Yeah.
basis.
So Gerald, I think, has pointed out a very key implementation issue that we face as well, which is that some individuals are unable to show proof that they have been involuntarily let go. For example, the contract was terminated. It was not renewed by the employer, even though the employer had promised that the contract would be renewed. So in these instances, we are very flexible in our implementation. Even if there is no official letter, if there is some form of email exchange, whether it's text exchange, email exchange, we are prepared to accept that. It can just be a screenshot. It doesn't always have to be an official letter.
Okay.
Yeah, it can just be with the HR. It can also be a conversation that they have had with the HR, which they said had taken place. And if they provide us with the details of this HR person or supervisor whom we have spoken with, and we could do a verification with the HR employer that it was indeed the intent of the individual to stay on, but the company could not continue to provide the employment, yes, we would accept the individual into the scheme. So we are very flexible in it. We are fully aware that there are practical challenges and official letters are not always possible to get. But the basic requirements that we will need is some form of contact from the applicant about who we can verify the information with.
Yeah.
Otherwise, if there's absolutely no documentation at all, we will not be able to distinguish between those who have resigned on their own
Yeah.
and those who had resigned against the wish.
But you know what? I think it just sounds to me that whoever is interested, just try.
Yeah.
I mean, even just go down and speak to somebody about it. Don't discount yourself or don't try and second guess or maybe I don't qualify or whatever. I'm sure you have people on standby to walk them through the process and to explain to them what else do they need to furnish, right? I mean, no harm trying. I mean, what do you have to lose anyway? Nothing. Just go ahead and try. But with the current work environment that we see right now, if a recession really comes, look at the Trump tariffs and everything like that, I don't know if I can actually nail a job in 6 months, or actually, I don't know if I can find a job that I like in 6 months so that I don't have to feel that
I'm rushing into it.
Yeah. So what happens outside of that 6 months if I really, really cannot land on the job that I do like?
Yeah. So government will take cognizance of the labour market situation, and we will review regularly from time to time the scheme eligibility criteria and the support level. So if there is a downturn or if the labour market situation deteriorates and job vacancy level drops, then we will consider augmenting the scheme, enhancing the scheme to either extend the support or increase the amount or allow more people to come in. So this is something that the government is committed to doing, to review the scheme to ensure its relevance, its timeliness, and support level is sufficient for all the impacted job seekers. But at this point in time, the current job vacancy situation is still held at a healthy level. So barring unforeseen circumstances, we think that most of the people should be able to find a job that suits them within the 6 months, or maybe slightly even longer. But that support will be there.
So I think we talked about how to get into the scheme. So I think once you're in the scheme, there's also some criteria, right? That are the points that we have to...
The monthly targets.
The monthly targets. There are some activities there that the job seeker has to commit towards.
Yeah, 13 actually. 13 such activities.
Yeah, and some people would say like, wow, so many criteria just to get the money, right? It's very onerous.
No, when I was looking at the thing, I actually thought to myself, wow, actually some of these quite easy to do,
What
you know.
makes you think it's easy?
Okay, so for example, when I was looking at the 13 job search activities, right, a few caught my eye. One of it, online career-related content. Basically, you have to consume an online career-related content. Another one is update your resume online or network with an industry professional. I find that these kind of things very hard to quantify. So what I mean by that is I can say that I read something. Like, for example, Gerald, I read your LinkedIn post. Is that considered online career-related content? And then, for example, update my resume online. Tomorrow, I add one S. Today, I take out the S.
Use ChatGPT to update your resume, right?
Or like networking. I network with you, you network with me. So how does WSG actually say that, okay, you did what you are asked to do and therefore we will award you these points? Because I think some people out there might try and game the system.
We are not too concerned with gaming the system because we think that it is the individual's responsibility to choose the type of job search activities that most suit them. And it is in their interest to find a job that they are happy with. So gaming the system just for $6,000 and yet not landing with a job is really not in the long-term interest of the applicant. So we prefer to give the benefit of the doubt to the applicant when they say that they're embarking on the job search activities. So just now, Tiffany, all the list of activities that you mentioned that you might do, all these are recognized activities. These job search activities are something that a normal job seeker or an active job seeker would have done anyway. So that's why it is not an additional criteria. Now, the reason why we bundle these activities with the payout is because we want to introduce other types of tasks and activities that may be useful to an applicant, but for which he's not aware of. For example, there are some people who think that if you lose a job, just submit job application online. Just
so
try your luck and put in your job application.
Every day just send 10,
and
right?
they don't do anything else. They don't talk with people to find out whether they can get referrals from friends. They don't talk with an advisor to explore other new areas of work. They just go back to the same old job occupation that they were doing. Now, all these confined job search activities and boundaries will not increase their chances of landing with a job. So the whole idea of the activity-based system is to help them to deepen, widen, and increase the currency of their job search skills. So updating your resume and not repeat using the old one, going to a career events, brushing up on your interview skills, these are all necessary part of it. In fact, we are not the only country that bundle job search activities with financial payout. Other countries have done it too, and one example is Australia. In Australia, the government's unemployment benefit system requires individuals to also participate in job search, and they also use something that is similar, which is a point-based system. So we are not unique in that sense. Yeah. Before we set these points, we did a user research test to track the job search activities of group of retrenched individuals. And we tried to allocate points to what they were doing. And this was way before the scheme was started. And we found that all of them could get the 10 points easily.
Okay.
Yeah. And in fact, the average points was about 13 points. Yeah.
It feels like the barriers of entry is not very high. And some people will say, then do we make it so easy to give people money? But I think after your explanation, I realized that I think we are assuming that people understand how to job search. But this whole idea is that you're actually really almost setting out like a curriculum for people to follow, right? Because some people may not know about networking. They don't know where to start, right? So what if you find counter evidence that shows that that person didn't do what you've asked them to do? So they didn't read content, they didn't network. So what if you find counter evidence, but you've already made that payout?
Well, if someone has indicated that he has undertaken this job search activity, and when we verify that and we found out that it did not take place, obviously we will take back the points that we've allocated and ask the person to submit some other activities that he has genuinely attended. So we will rectify.
Okay.
We will rectify any
money?
wrongful submissions and wrongful claims. Yeah. As for whether we will take back any payouts from the people who have falsified information, well, government will do the necessary actions whenever the time comes for it.
Okay.
But at the end of the day, we feel that the individuals should take responsibility for themselves. After all, it is their careers, it is their job. There is a lot more for them to miss out in terms of their employment income than just to game for this amount of payout. And also you have to meet the points every month. It is not as if you are approved and once you're approved upfront, you will automatically get the payout every month. So every month you have to participate activities, and the activities cannot be repeated as well.
Okay.
And we will also check against some of our administration records to ensure that the individual will not get the payout if they have already found a job.
Okay.
Because this payment is only for those who have not yet found a job. So
Okay.
once they have found a job, they will not be receiving any payout.
If I found a job, but then I don't clear probation, then does that mean that I go back to the scheme and start from, let's say, from the month I've left off? Or am I considered as I'm out of the scheme because I'm no longer involuntarily unemployed?
Currently, the policy has a 36 months wait out period before somebody can be eligible again for the scheme.
Okay.
So once you have taken some payout, you will not be eligible for the next 3 years. However, in instances like this, where really it is not due to your fault, for some reason, your second employer also end the employment contract prematurely, you can submit an appeal to WSG and we will assess the situation and
Okay.
consider it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So again, just appeal, just try.
So we will be very flexible in our implementation, but at the same time, we will maintain principles of transparency, fairness, and equity, and ensure that we are fair to all the applicants and we treat them equally as well.
Thank you so much for enlightening us about the Job Seeker Support Scheme. I think anybody who is interested to find out more, if you feel we haven't covered enough, just go to the website. It's there. And like I said, just go down and speak to somebody about it. I'm sure somebody will be on hand to help you.
Just try, right?
Just try.
Just write in and see. From what Lynn was sharing, right? They're willing to listen and to consider the different case, the different situations, exceptions. So if you feel like you are maybe not quite fitting the criteria, just go and try. If you're looking at the point system and you feel overwhelmed, don't be, because these are really best practices. You got to do them anyway if you are serious about job seeking.
But besides these online applications and writing in email to us, if you have any questions, the individuals can also go to any of our 6 physical touch points around the island. These are all our career centers operated by WSG, E2I, and some service SG centers. They can also go there and drop by physically and they will get immediate assistance on the spot as well. Yeah.
So thank you so much.
Thank
Lynn.
you.
Hello. We are back with our Ask Me Anything segment. Now, today's question was sent to us by a listener who I'll call Krishnan. Krishnan says his company doesn't have an AI policy, and he says his boss is quite old school and doesn't understand AI. Now, Krishnan uses AI for his work. Some useful ways it has helped him is in drafting proposals and emails to clients, because Krishnan says he's weaker at expressing himself in English. Now, AI has really truly been a game changer for him. Krishnan wants to know, should I come clean and disclose to my boss that I use AI at work because I think it will help the rest of my team? But what if my boss thinks I'm trying to use it to take shortcuts? Yeah. So while we talk about how everyone should be embracing AI for efficiency, I think there are companies where bosses are afraid of change. They're afraid of the unknown. So Gerald, how can Krishnan approach this conversation with a boss who might not be open to AI adoption?
Yeah, I think as we know, AI is here to stay already, right? And many companies have taken on board the AI platforms, the tools and apps. But like in Krishnan's case, I think there are still perhaps some companies who may not be on board yet. And maybe, I don't know, it could be for security reasons or it just could be personal preferences.
Yes.
Right. In this case, if today we were to look at Krishnan's concerns, it feels to me, his query sounds like the boss just has a personal preference not to use it. So Krishnan mentioned about how using AI may be seen as taking shortcuts.
Maybe seen as being lazy,
or being lazy, right? But I think the association between these two, AI and laziness, should not be there. I think AI helps us to work in a different way, right? We are using AI to do the foundational work, and we need to come in to check, to validate, to choose, to conceptualize further about what can we use from the AI platform. So I think laziness is not there, right? It's definitely not something that should be associated. But at the same time, I think what Krishnan could do, specific to his situation with his boss, right? Perhaps maybe to first start by understanding where
the concerns and fears
like what is the concern
from.
with using this, right? Or with using AI? Is it because the boss, like I said, security, or is it he's just not convinced, or maybe the boss don't know how to use AI, right? And that's why
of the unknown, right?
Fear of the unknown, and that's why we have AI training for companies and to get everybody on board to utilize AI for their business processes, So I think the first thing Christian should really do is to maybe observe, like what is the boss' appetite about AI, If the boss really resists all things AI, even for his own personal life,
Yes.
your boss ends up like those maybe the tech laggard, right?
Yes.
Like not even having apps, don't want to do digital banking, that kind, right? Then you know that
It's quite hard to change mindsets there.
Exactly. So try to sense what the boss does not like about AI. Maybe also look at the colleagues,
Okay.
the peers. How do they use AI? How do they get around this thing with the boss? Or is everybody under the same thing?
So it could be that everyone is using AI. It's just that nobody is sharing what AI tools that they are using because everyone is scared to disclose, right, in the company.
Yeah, and then Christian is the only nice guy who's like, I need to be compliant to let my boss know. Everybody's
And
like,
I need
don't
to
declare.
help my other colleagues. Yeah, everybody's like, don't declare, dude.
Yeah, maybe you can also involve your boss during work discussions to slip in a little bit of AI here and there. Like,
true.
boss, can I use AI to just throw up some options and see what we can get?
Yeah.
So that the boss will feel like, okay, this is not a threat.
Yes.
Right. This seems to be quite useful.
Yes. I think another way that maybe Krishnan can also do is to look at data. Always go back to data, right? See if there are any use cases of the role that he's doing. Maybe he can find data to support how it can really make the job that he has a lot more efficient, cut down by how many percent and everything. So using that data and presenting it to the boss might actually be a less scary conversation to have because it can be very factual. It can be like this is what the data has shown us. If you want us to be more efficient, this will be helpful.
Yeah. So the data in terms of like man hours saved.
Correct.
Right?
Exactly.
The time that's saved, something that you need maybe 1 day to do, you can do it within 1 hour.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So of course, the other thing is money, right? So maybe Krishnan can also explore sharing the boss like, the subsidies for AI training.
Yes.
So that as part of staff training, the boss could be seen as investing in the team to grow the team's capability. And then look, there's government support as well to go and learn AI. So after that learning, then must apply ma.
Yes.
So that's where you
So let's have it, use it in our team.
That's right.
Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, I hope, Krishnan, that this answers your question. I hope it helps you as you have this maybe not so easy conversation with your boss. And if anyone else like Krishnan, you have a work-related question, do send it to us. We are at CNA Podcasts at mediacorp.com.sg. We're also on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Me Listen, and YouTube, where a video version of this is at. The team behind the Work It podcast is Crispina Robert, Joanne Chan, Junaini Johari, Saya Win, and Alison Jenner. Video by Hanina Amin.
I'm Gerald.
And I'm Tiffany. Have a good, fun work week ahead.